Welcome back to the 150K podcast. I'm your host, Joe Graham, where we take your dreams to six figures and beyond. Today, I have with me Stephanie, the food goddess, mental health warrior, health and lifestyle coach. I met her through a mutual friend, Marshall Gillen, probably about 2-3 months ago on a live that she was doing. She just brought a ton of really cool and great value. But Stephanie, for people that don't know you from my podcast, give us a little bit of your background and what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me. I started my journey 15 years ago of healing myself, and it started through healing through food. And then I realized once you start looking at your plate and what's in front of you and what you're ingesting actually physically through food, you also start looking about what you're ingesting through social media and content and how you speak to yourself, how you speak to others, or how you allow others to speak to you. And so I just got really laser focused on how I was eating well to fuel my body, to fuel my brain.
Mm-hmm.
At the time I was on depression medication, and eating well, eating more whole foods, more fiber really helped me feel better. So I've always known that I'm on earth to be a servant and to help other people. And so I decided that I would become a health coach. So a health and nutrition coach, more specifically holistic and plant-based. So I help people change their diet. I help them transition.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my clients are not vegan or plant-based, but usually we get them to a place where they're eating at least 80%. And sometimes they do go vegan. But again, I'm a firm believer that we are all different. We are all on different journeys. And so I'm just here to hold people's hand as they step into the next phase of making their lives better, elevating their energy, elevating their purpose, and really just becoming more conscious about whatever it is that we each individually need.
No, that's awesome. And I've checked out your page. It makes me hungry. I'm not plant-based, but I went on a food journey about 3 years ago, where I went from, I was like about 210 down to about 178. Just eating, like you said, more whole foods, not processed stuff, working out, drinking water, getting rest. So I definitely connect with that. So for my listeners that maybe are at the beginning of that journey, because we all were there, like my
Yeah.
reckoning was we went to Disney World and I looked at the picture, and because I'm saying about myself, I can say that I was like, who's the fat man? I'm like, holy crap. Why did I allow myself to get to that point? So for someone just starting out, what would you suggest for them food wise? Would you do that first? Or would you do the mental first? Which would be your idea?
Yeah, I think that's such a great question. I think the first thing is, is knowing you want to change, right? I think that's in anything that you realize that you want to make a change. There's something here. I recommend to people, first of all, just drinking water and making sure that you're incorporating more water into your life is going to make such a difference. There are
Yes.
so many times that I see clients of mine, they'll bring me their lab work, and although I don't like break it down all of it, it's a great roadmap for me to look at. And at least 50% of the time they're dehydrated or their electrolytes are off, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's so important because our cells need water. Water, being hydrated, gives us energy. And I've even done I'm a firm believer of doing things on myself, trying new modalities before I
Mm-hmm.
tell someone else to do it.
Yep. Makes sense.
So for about a month and a half, I cut out caffeine. I was one of those, I need to have my cup of matcha every once in a while. Yeah,
Yep.
every
Yep.
once in a while it would be like a cup of coffee. And I thought, well, I'm gonna try how hydration really, like, to see if it really does work. So I cut out the caffeine, and every morning I started off with 2 pint-sized glasses of room temperature or warm water with a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of lemon, just for a little extra vitamin C. Uh, Over the month, I realized how much more energy I had and how many most days I didn't need caffeine. It was just the matter of fact of needing to be hydrated. And I'm not, and I mean, there were days where I woke up and I thought, oh my gosh, I don't
Yep.
know if I'm going to
Been there.
be able to get through the day. Like, I'm tired. Today is
Yeah.
definitely going to be that day I grab for the caffeine. And then after the 2 glasses of water, I felt energized, and I didn't feel like I was needing or craving that caffeine. So I definitely think that's one way to
Mm.
start.
Well, let me ask you something on that, because like my wife has worked with a homeopath, and I have as well. And you mentioned the warm or hot water. What
Mm.
is the benefit of that? Because like a lot of people drink ice cold water and stuff like that, and I like room temperature. But what's the benefits with that?
Yeah, and there's benefits in both ways, to be honest, which I think is notable to say, because sometimes people get so far on one spectrum. So when you drink warm water, it's matching your body's temperature a little bit more, so it's not as shocking.
Hmm.
It also, because it's matching your body as it's going down into your digestion, it's starting to wake you up. It's starting to kind of in a very gentle way say, hey, I'm going to start putting things into my body that are solid or that have more nutrients. Get ready. And so
Gotcha.
so with warm, it just kind of it's not as shocking.
Hmm.
But cold water it's kind of shocking. So I mean,
Yes.
it will, like, a lot of times they do say that it could burn maybe a little bit more calories. I mean, it might be like 3 calories. I don't know if it's like that significant. But what I hear, and for me personally, and again, isn't how everyone has to be, but when I hear shocking my system, I kind of I play with that a little, and I think, okay, well, I think right when I wake up, it might be nice to gently flow into my
Mhm.
day. So I prefer warm and hot water. And again, it really does help with digestion, and there are studies on that for sure.
No, no, that's good. So, like we were talking before we started, I'm doing a thing called 75 hard and had to drink a gallon of water a day.
Yes.
I still am drinking coffee because I have not given that up. That's my one thing, but I drink it black with a little sugar. So, how much water would you recommend, like for the average person, or is there like a gauge like that people should be drinking a day?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I mean, the bare minimum is about 8 ounces, or I'm sorry, 8 times 8 ounces, like eight cups, right? 64
Mhm.
ounces. But also, it depends on how much you work out, how much you sweat. If it's hot out, you're definitely going to want to supplement with more water. If you're drinking caffeine, my rule with them is, if for every glass of caffeine that you have, or cup of coffee, or cup of tea, to supplement that with 1 or 2 glasses of water,
Mhm.
because it does dehydrate us. It does make us excrete our liquids more. So definitely, I mean, and again, I mean, if you're 100 pounds, then need to taper down a little bit. So
Right.
rule of thumb is about half of your body weight is a
Mhm.
good rule to keep in mind.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And then, so we started with water, but like when you move into that, people trying to make changes with their food. Because I know when I started, and again, my wife helped me out a lot in food prep, so I had someone in my corner, which was helpful. But um, what would be the next step? Just like basic things. I know we talked about being more plant based, or at least getting greens and certain things. Is there certain foods you would recommend, or how would you, if I was like, "Hey, Stephanie, help me," what would you say?
Yeah. So I always like to tell people, I know it can be overwhelming when you make a change, just like when you start going to school for the first time. First day of school might be a little overwhelming. You're trying to get all the information in. So really take the time, be patient with yourself and kind with yourself as you incorporate this next step. Start looking, some people only know about broccoli and celery, and they don't know about bok choy or
Oh, bok choy.
mushrooms or
Right.
kale, or
Mhm.
cabbage. And so I always recommend, so that you don't get too overwhelmed, every week, make a commitment to yourself to add maybe 2 to 5 new veggies to your repertoire, or
Mhm.
maybe you just start cycling them in, because I sometimes myself personally, even in the past and even today, because I'm human, sometimes I just get stuck on broccoli and Brussels sprouts because I love them so much.
Mhm.
But then we have all these other beautiful fruits and vegetables that really nourish us, and each one of them have a variety of different vitamins and minerals. So being able to switch them in and out. So again, so whether you're adding in 2 to 5 new vegetables you've never tried before in a week, or maybe you think, okay, I've had a lot of cabbage salad this last week. I was eating a lot of Brussels sprouts and red bell peppers. Maybe this week I make a decision to incorporate some bok choy and some curly kale,
Mhm.
and and other things like that. Maybe some tomatoes and carrots. Green leafy vegetables contain phytonutrients and antioxidants that are so good for us, especially cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables are broccoli, cabbage, bok choy, kale.
Mhm.
They're like scrubbers. They scrub our system. They contain something called sulforaphane.
Mhm.
And that is something that has been, studies have shown that it can actually help get rid of cancer cells. Like it's that powerful, especially in sprout form. Like if you've heard of broccoli sprouts or
Yep. Yep.
alfalfa sprouts, those have like 10x of the sulforaphane. And that is something that is so beneficial. Like I do have friends and clients that have cancer. And although as a professional, I'm not allowed to say that I can manage,
Right.
cure, or
Understood.
reverse a disease, there are studies that show that these things can help and be very beneficial. So getting in some cruciferous vegetables, trying new vegetables, or just trying to kind of rotate your vegetables and keep the rainbow going on your plate. That's what I always
Mhm.
say. If you've got colors on your plate, you're most likely getting the right amount of vitamins and minerals and nutrients and phyto nutrients as well.
No, that's perfect. And what I've noticed is once I started eating it and I started to like it. Like I didn't know I liked bok
Mm.
choy. I didn't know I liked broccolini. I didn't know I liked a lot of the different stuff. I've always liked cabbage, but like like just the different things, and they're actually really good. But like, I grew up in the Midwest and our diet was potatoes, steak, or potatoes, meat, and another starch.
Absolutely.
So we've been making those changes. So I definitely agree with you on that. And then going on along on this and everything. What is your thoughts on like self-care and how important is that?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Self care is so important. And again, I'm going to admit, I talk about it often. I am human, and every once in a while, I forget to do it myself.
Yep.
But then I bring myself back to it. And actually, I'm right now on a huge self care journey. I'm in my master's program, and it honestly has got me feeling stressful ways that I normally can hone in and kind of like meditate and do breath work and get myself to be more centered.
Hmm.
And I feel like I haven't really been myself in the last year since I've been studying. And self care has been something I've had to be really aware of. Like I actually have to put it in my calendar. Like,
Yep.
okay, this week I'm making sure I'm getting a massage. This week I'm gonna make sure that I get 10 minutes or 10 to 20 minutes out in nature, whether it's right outside my house, whether I go somewhere to the woods because the redwood forest is close by to where I'm at.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really important because connecting to nature, connecting to source, being around water, hearing the beautiful sounds of what's around us. Again, if you're in a city, I know it's not always a beautiful sound. You're probably hearing cars and honking. Maybe that means that self-care is sitting in your living room and you're listening to Insight Timer or some sort of app that or Spotify or
Hmm.
YouTube that has some sort of hertz love energy or something like that, where you can really just sit with yourself. You can hear yourself think. And again, I mean, even just eating well or drinking and hydrating, those are all forms of self-care. It's so important because we need it for recharging. And again, like I said, so this last year I've been really actively trying, but
Hmm.
I kind of tapered off a couple months ago, and I really was just going full force, not doing as much self care. So in the last 3 weeks, it has been all about self care for me,
Good.
doing the things that sets my soul on fire, so that I can continue to help others and elevate others.
Mhm. And I've just really gotten into more of the self-care thing. Like literally, I went to a mastermind in May. Well, actually, Marshall's, our friend Marshall's, and
Mm,
we started doing a lot more of like meditation that I hadn't really done, learning about breath work and just different things that like, because I've always loved nature. I've always done I'd go get a massage or I'll go for a walk. And like I have a park by me, even though I live in DFW area, I can go and sit and there's this tree and I just sit there and I just think. And it's
ah,
just nice. And I didn't realize how great it was. The only thing that I can't do here is because we have fire ants. So I can't put my feet in the dirt. When I was in Montana, we could do the whole feet in the dirt thing and it was great. Down here, fire
something.
ants are evil. And yeah. So can't do that part. But no, I've been getting a lot better at it, but I do have to schedule it because like with you, I get busy with life, with sales, with podcasting, with kids, with dogs. It's just like, and I think we just need to slow down and
Mm.
just be with ourselves, which I think a lot of us don't like to do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have clients and I have friends that do not like to be with themselves, by themselves. And I really do. I preach about this a lot that I mean, you are your own best friend. You have to be okay with yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to enjoy being with you so that you can then bring that to the world and to others and relationships, whether it's relationships with work or a loved one and intimate. It's really, really important. And I could even like just another step on that. I remember learning a little bit about doing things on your own maybe 10 years ago. And so I just Googled activities to do alone. And
Mhm.
one of the two, well, there were two things that really stood out to me that I thought, ooh, that sounds scary. I'm going to do it. Was going to the movies alone. You know,
Mhm.
I don't know. I just felt like it would be weird. No one
Yep.
really does that. So I did that. And it was liberating. It was something really neat and cool. Another thing was going to a restaurant and eating alone and I'm not saying going to the bar and eating alone. It's a lot. I know it's easier to eat at the
Yeah.
bar because people are kind of sitting there singularly anyways. Going to the front, requesting a table for one in the restaurant. And it's funny because the response often is, well, there's a 40-minute wait, but if you want, you can eat in the bar. And that would have been the easy way out. But I
Mhm.
said, nope, I'll wait the 40 minutes. I'll go sit at the table. And I've done that a couple times. I've done it when I was traveling across seas. And again, it's so liberating because first of all, it's a little scary. You sit down, you
Mhm.
notice other people are staring at you. They're like, why is this woman sitting alone?
Right.
I did whatever I could to not be on my phone and just really sit there, look at my plate, observe what was going on. I did bring a pad of paper and
Mhm.
I wrote a little bit, but it was really nice to be in relationship with myself.
Yeah, no, that's good. Like I've not, it's been a long time since I've done something like that. I have gone to the movies by myself, which is a little weird. And when I've been on trips, eating by
Ah,
myself is not as big of a deal. But no, I think that's a big thing. I know for as a guy, it's really weird for me to be alone just because I've been married for 20 years. I have all this stuff going on. So, but I found when I can get with myself, then I can actually just start to be. Actually, another friend of mine said it certain like this. He goes, "So you're the only person you're going to be with the whole time. No matter if the people you're around love you or not, you need to be alone with yourself. You need to learn and think, and then you can actually do a lot more." Um, so here was another thing that I learned a little bit about, and I'm sure you kind of go with affirmations. Do you do like affirmations in the morning? Or do you have like a morning routine? And all, because I know you mentioned the notebook as well, like maybe journaling, or how does that look for you?
Absolutely. Affirmations are very huge. I used to be very insecure and I didn't think I was worth it. And I let people walk all over me. And I had a really hard time with boundaries. And again, I'm
Yep.
human. I still am working on boundaries. But waking up in the morning and speaking positively to yourself and into your life is so important. The three most powerful words in life is I am blank, right? Like
Mhm.
whatever that is. Or I
Yep.
guess you could say two since you're making up the third, but I am is such a powerful thing. And so I have little post-its
Mhm.
and I will put them on my mirror where I get ready and it'll say I am beautiful. I am wonderful. I am amazing. I am a creator of goodness and health,
Mhm.
whatever that is. And and sometimes it even feels a little weird as you start doing
Yep.
affirmations. You're like, okay, someone told me to do this. Now I feel weird. Do I say it out loud? Do I say it in my mind? But after you do it, I always tell people do it for 30 days. And then after 30 days, if you want, switch the words, switch it so that you can continue to be
Mhm.
kind to yourself. So our bodies are made of cells
Yep.
and our bodies are made up of water, about what, 70 to 80% water. And there, I don't know if you've heard of this study, but there was a study, and again, you could Google this online,
Mhm.
where there were two glasses of water, and they pumped love and loving energy and
Yep.
loving music into this one water, and then the other one, it was just like like headbanging, like noisy, hate, like
Mhm.
so many like mean words. They froze it, both waters froze differently. The molecules in the water heard the good and the bad. And so you
Hmm.
have to think, in our body, if we are constantly negatively speaking about ourselves, and especially, I'm not trying to cut out men, but I think
Hmm.
especially females, growing up, like I heard my mom talking bad about herself, or that she was fat or not pretty, and I started talking like that,
Hmm.
and I believed it. The cells in my body believed it. And then
Yep.
the moment I started talking kindly and compassionately, in an elevating way to myself and others, my cells heard that and believed it. And I have such a better and more positive mindset because of that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. It was weird. It's weird doing it, but just
Yeah.
saying stuff like, I am, it makes you connect exactly with what you're doing, which makes it to where you're declaring about yourself, which most people don't do. Most people get caught in their little, bubble or whatever. But no, I love that. So we're not done, but I always like to do this in the middle. Where can people find you? And I always do in the middle because people always drop it at the end. So I always like to get this in the middle.
I think that's really smart. Thank you. Well, because sometimes people jump on, they love it, and then they have to get going. They can't stay the whole time.
Yeah.
So I go by the Superfood Goddess on Instagram. That's my biggest area of content and connectivity. I am on Facebook, but it's more, that's kind of like a side thing. I just have so much going on. So
Mhm.
Instagram, you can find me on my website and blog, where I do post recipes as well as upcoming retreats and different products that I recommend, and even discount codes. That's thesuperfoodgoddess.com. And I always love connecting with people. Again, like I said, like I started my journey 15 years ago. Before that, I was also meat, steak, and potatoes, and I also was in a way different mindset. And again, coming from past childhood trauma, like so much stuff. Like I was in a place, and now that I'm in a different place 15 years later, and I've just created so much positivity and goodness in my life. Yes, there's still
Mhm.
absolutely down days, but just finding that for myself really made me realize, though, I remember where I was at 15 years ago. And so I want to be able to help people. And so I love when people reach out and I get to connect, and, we just get to talk about being human. So I'm always here to help. And I do one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching on Monday nights. And yeah, I'm here as a servant to connect. So please, anyone who's wanting to, I'm happy.
Yes, and she does. I replied to her in the DMs after I saw her on my friend's show, and she replied back. So let's talk about that a little bit, because you said past childhood drama and stuff.
Yeah.
When did you? Because I know you've been on a little bit of a journey from getting away from the steak and potatoes into more holistic. What was the
Yeah.
turning point that even got you to start shifting that way?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I definitely was in a very dark place, although I learned to put a smile on my face and act like nothing was going on. So growing up, you probably would have not had any idea that I had anything going on at home. Probably a lot. I even remember someone actually projecting to me that they thought my parents were still married, and that we had 2.5 kids, a dog,
the
a
perfect
fish, and
family. Yep.
yeah, and
Yep.
a white picket fence. And I was like, wow, you couldn't be so far off. But what I was putting out on the outside
Mhm.
was smiles and happiness and love. I didn't realize that was even my coping mechanism until I was accepted into a program for women. It was women specific. While I was in college, it was my third year in college. Someone who became my mentor to this point, still today, he noticed something about me. He noticed that smile and the
Uh-huh.
happy disposition was all a cover up. And he started asking me deep questions that no one had ever taken the time to ask me. I really do have to say that without him kind of like knocking me into that sphere, I still think I would have gotten there. I just maybe think it would have taken longer. But so I was
Mhm.
19, and yeah, and he said, hey, like, I want to talk about this. I want to know. And then when I told him a little bit about what had happened in my life. My mom, bless her heart, is such a giver, but often picked the wrong relationships.
Mhm.
My dad was an alcoholic. He cheated on her. It really wasn't a great relationship. relationship. My stepdad beat her up so badly he put her in the hospital, and he was verbally abusive to me, and I just thought it was normal. And that's part of why my confidence was so low, because
Mhm.
he told me really bad, mean things that a kid should never hear. But I
Yeah.
understand why I believed it, because he's older, he's the parent, so of course aren't you supposed to believe that?
Right, right. Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, I kind of told him a little bit about that, and he said, okay, well, I have this program. There's 50 women in it, and I mean, at first I didn't even believe him. I heard it, and I was like, yeah, right. You're like,
Uh-huh.
no one just tries to help other people. But he did. It took me a couple months to call him back. After I met him, I was serving at the time.
Mhm.
And yeah, I got entered into this program, and the requirements to stay in the program where you get weekly therapy, amazing.
Mhm.
And you have to check in with your mentor every week, and you have to keep above a 2.0. And that, honestly, that was the start of my transformation, positively, mindset, lifestyle. And what goes kind of hand in hand with that is, about a
Mhm.
year later, as I was starting to work on my mindset and who I was, and digging deep and seeing a therapist. Oh my gosh, I recommend seeing a therapist to anyone and everyone, even if you don't think you have issues. It is so nice to have somebody to talk to that's neutral, that's going to hear you and listen. Because
Mhm.
there's been times where I thought, oh, I have nothing to talk about today. And all of a sudden we started talking about, I don't know, my boyfriend watching TV on the couch next to me. And all of a sudden we get into this whole thing that I'm uncovering about myself. I'm like,
Right.
what? How did we get here? So
Yep.
it's really beautiful. So I do think that comes a lot with it. Uh, but then on top of that, another part of like my food journey and changing, which again, the gut and brain connection are a real thing. So
Mhm.
it does go hand in hand. If you're eating well, you're feeling well. If you're feeling well, you're able to uncover things and create more of a positive mindset. My brother, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar. And so, just like in any other emergency situation, my mom and I got on Google. We started
Mhm.
asking professionals and
Yep.
friends, this and that, and groups. And at the time, I was trying like the keto diet. Tried the heart healthy soup diet. I was just trying to like lose weight,
Yep.
try all
I
the
hear you.
different diets.
Yep.
Yeah. And so someone sent us a book. It was a vegan book, and it talked about the energy exchange that when we are eating animals, from a factory, the babies are being taken away from their moms taken away from the babies. I mean, just imagine that if I was taken away from my mom at 4 years old, which actually she told me recently about a time where she thought she lost me. I mean,
Mhm.
she lost it. I can't imagine the cortisol and the
Yep.
stress hormones that were taking place in her body. This happens to animals. And so it made so much sense to me that if we're ingesting this energy, that maybe that's part of what's going on for us energetically, or mentally. So we decided to do a 3-month vegan challenge,
Mhm.
for my brother.
Yep.
And after 3 months, my digestion was better. I wasn't bloated anymore. My nose wasn't stuffy. My ears, nose, and throat, all of it was so much better.
Mhm.
I didn't have I haven't had bronchitis since I went vegan 15 years ago. And I used to have bronchitis at least 4 to 6 times a year
Wow.
growing up as a child. Like
Mhm.
it was terrible. And I had that moment where I
Yep.
thought, I don't know, I was like 14, and I remember thinking, I'm just gonna have to deal with this for the rest of my life. I didn't realize I could change it. So that was kind of like those are like two awakening moments for me. One, like more of like a positive mindset,
Mhm.
and one where I had a realization that food really makes a difference on our bodies. And
Mhm.
now I can even speak to it on a more energy a scientific level,
Yeah.
where I know we've got over 30 neurotransmitters that are made in our gut. And if we are not feeding it probiotics, prebiotics, and fiber, we don't have the diverse bacteria that is going to make our gut flourish. And our
Mhm.
gut I mean, 85 to 90% of our serotonin, which is our happy mood, is made in our gut. So if you're not feeding that bacteria correctly, it's also telling your mind, I'm foggy, I'm tired, I'm depressed, I can't keep going on. When
Mhm.
you're feeding it the good stuff, you're like, all right, like I'm doing better. That doesn't mean your depression, that you'll never have depressed moments or anxiety or, anxious moments, but you're setting yourself up to flow just a little bit better.
Yeah, you did two really big different nuggets. So I want to break them down a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's do the first one. You said therapy, self-care, that type of thing. And
And
I think
yeah,
everyone that I've met in this space has had a critical moment where they just hit a spot and they're like, So I agree with you. I think therapy is a good thing. Here's a question, and I could be wrong. Most men I know are afraid to go and do therapy at all.
yes.
Most women are a little bit more open to it. How would you get a guy to start even looking into that? How would you approach if I said, "Hey, I'm having all these issues." How would you talk me into maybe not talk me into is the right word, but I think you kind of get where I'm coming from with this.
Yes, I do. And honestly, I don't know if I have a perfect answer for it because I've actually, you know what? I have two men in my life that I have had this talk with. One of them did immediately end up going to therapy, and one of them, it took them a long time until they went through something so traumatic that they said, "Okay, now I'm going to listen
Mhm.
to what you've told me before." My biggest thing in anything when you're trying to help someone change or when you want someone to change, I know they say people don't change. That's not true. Change is just really difficult.
Yep.
It is for a lot of people on many levels. So, really, essentially, the biggest way you can help someone change is being you, guiding through your light, speaking up. So, I speak a lot about therapy and I tell
Mhm.
people how it is okay. There's nothing wrong with me because I go to therapy. If anything, I think I'm doing the right thing. I've been in therapy
Mhm.
for 15 years and I definitely see differences in my life from other people. And again, I'm not saying I'm superior because I go to
Oh
therapy.
no, no, I get that. Yep, I understand.
It's just, it's a way of being able to find out how to express yourself better, to understand yourself better as well as others.
Mhm.
So I had a friend, one of my best friends. He was really struggling. His wife was telling me some things, and I said, I'm going to go to dinner with him. We're just going to talk. And, I opened up and I said, I lately have been going through some depression and it's been really hard and it's really been debilitating. And thank goodness I just started seeing a therapist again. It had
Mhm.
been a little while, and I said, she helps me so much. I kind of expressed the process so it didn't sound as scary. And he said, "Wow, I never thought about therapy in that way. I just thought like something seriously wrong with you." And so I
Mhm.
think, really being able to be open, to be
Yep.
vulnerable yourself, and be a storyteller, as
Mhm.
I know, storytelling of how it's gone on for you, can really help someone else make those first steps. So I think
Yes.
really just being a guiding light, being you, being open, being vulnerable. Again, the other person that took maybe 2 or 3 years to come to therapy, and really it was like that moment of like them having to come down to their knees. They heard me say it, but they didn't hear me say it
Mhm.
until that tragic moment happened.
Until they had that epiphany. Yep.
Exactly. So I mean, there's no like linear way. The only thing I could really recommend is be yourself, tell your story, be vulnerable and open. I know it can sound scary, but at the end of the day, oh my gosh, like what a relief to get something off your chest and to be able to share and connect with people. And oh my goodness, the times that I share something like on social media, I like something very vulnerable, I get this like really, I don't know, that this like vibration of like, oh my gosh, did I do the right thing? Are people going to look at me and think that I overshared? Every single time I get some amazing messages in my inbox.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. I've been feeling the same way. I love how you worded that. I'm going to try this. So it really is just being open, being yourself, being that light in the world. People are going to buzz to you at
Yeah.
some point and
No,
listen.
and it makes sense. So like when you said that and you didn't go, "Hey, you need to get therapy." You're like, I went and did this, and this is great. And people can relate to that. I do this in sales. Like I'm
Yeah.
telling stories about people and how I help them out and stuff. And then people are like, oh, wait, I'm like this person. I know you. You're not a weird person. So this is good.
Yes.
Going back to the food part, because I like the food part and the gut and all.
Yeah.
And I've looked into this some, so I have a little bit of knowledge, but it's probably minor. Like we drink kombucha drinks, we do different things like that for the gut. But what would be your number one food or drink, or maybe something I'm missing to get better gut health?
Yeah, absolutely. So besides just incorporating more whole foods and vegetables, because those do have fiber, and fiber really is it's wonderful for our gut. But prebiotics, and again, anyone can Google this and look up what a prebiotic is, what prebiotic foods are. Um, Artichokes, onion, fermented foods like sauerkraut or kimchi. You got it right with the, yeah, me too. You got it right with the kombucha.
Kombucha.
I love
Yep.
kombucha. The only thing that kombucha, it can be higher in sugar. So I
Mhm.
do I just tell people, just as an awareness, maybe look at your brands that you have to offer, and see if you can pick the one that has maybe the least amount of sugar. But at the end of the day, it does have probiotics. It
Mhm.
is good for the gut. Onions are also good for the gut if that's something that you incorporate in your diet,
Yep.
because onions, for some people, they're either allergic to it, or maybe if you're following the Ayurvedic diet, a lifestyle, they actually do not incorporate garlic or onions because they're super not dehydrating. They're very detoxifying, and so they
Mhm.
often look at that more as like, if you're sick, you eat
Ah,
onions
gotcha.
and garlic. But again, that's just that's one modality to health and wellness, and so that's why I like to talk about it, so that people know what they can pick and choose. My
Mhm.
thing always is, it's like I have like, of course I'm going to say vegan cheese board, but it's like I have this vegan cheese board for you.
Mhm.
You pick and choose what cheeses look good, you pick and choose what fruits and crackers, and you leave the things you don't want. I'm just here to bring knowledge. And so, like I said, like with onions are a prebiotic, but not everyone incorporates them in their diet.
Mhm.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, green leafy vegetables. I love beets. Beets are wonderful. They scrub beets, and apples are,
Mhm.
I see them as like scrubbing your insides. They're even really great for if you're going through constipation. It
Mhm.
kind of cleans out the gut. Yeah, it really it's all about healing the gut. So I even say, like, supplement wise, if you're having gut issues or you're really trying to work on healing your gut, glutamine is a really nice um, uh, product supplement that you can use, and it repairs your gut. It can
Mhm.
literally close some of the junctions, because some of us, and again, this is just normal from normal wear and tear of tons of sugar and soda and processed foods, and maybe overconsumption of meat and dairy. We over time can break down our gut lining and create more open junctions that can
Mhm.
lead to leaky gut. Again, wheat gluten can do it too, especially if you're allergic. So if you're living with allergies like I used to,
Yep.
and just still eating the things that you're allergic to, those can cause issues in your gut. So eating prebiotics, uh, incorporating probiotics is good too, like yogurt, and again, fermented foods. And green leafy vegetables. I mean, those are really, really wonderful. That's what's going to help you elevate to the next level.
Mhm. No, I agree. That's awesome. So now we're going to get into kind of, I have one question I ask everybody, and then I
Mm,
have some little fun questions. So this is one I just like to set up. So you can go back in time as far as you want. You can go forward in time as far as you want. You can talk to whoever you want to. You get to be there for 1 year and learn anything. Where would you go and what would you do? And then you
wow.
get to come back here.
Wow. Okay. So what a question, because I already I just had like 50 things and 50 people that I would love to incorporate. But I'm gonna leave it at this. And I don't know that everyone knows who David Wolf is, David Avocado Wolf.
I know who he is. He's
You
good.
know, okay. I mean, I would love to sit down and have lunch or dinner with him. I mean, if I could have a whole year with him,
Mhm.
holy moly. I mean, this guy has figured out so much about about health and wellness, superfoods.
Mhm.
Like he's just he's amazing. So
Yes.
I would spend time with him. He's got a couple. I think he has a property on Kauai. I believe he's got
Nice.
something maybe in California or wherever he lives. I want to say it's in Northern California or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, he forages and he grows, and I eat plants, I talk about them, I'm learning so much more about herbs and whatnot, which I know he would be able to help too. But I mean, to learn how to grow and be more sustainable in that manner would be so amazing. So
Mhm.
it would be David Wolf. I would love to spend a year with him learning and just vibing.
No, that's perfect. That is perfect. So now we just have some quick one answer type of things, just kind of fun stuff. Mountains or beach?
Oh, ooh, mountains.
Ooh, see, I thought you'd go with beach. I'm more of a mountains person now. I used to be beach. Money or legacy?
Legacy.
Puppies or kittens?
Ah, puppies.
Yeah, yeah. See, I knew I liked you. I have 3 dogs, so we have a cat too, but I claimed the dog. Um, so favorite food. You're a foodie. What is your favorite food? Like favorite dish. It doesn't have to be like this is only what you eat, but if you just what's your favorite dish?
Oh my gosh, I always surprise people with this answer. Pizza.
I saw you had the vegan pizza on your page. So I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, you can definitely do pizza. That totally incorporates it.
raw or cooked. I
Mhm.
love any of them. Yes, pizza.
No, that's awesome. And then my last question, I always like to ask this. So say you get like people just only get to hear this last 5 minutes. We want them to go and connect with you. We want them to hear all the content before. But if you were encouraging my podcast people that are listening right now, and you had 3 to 5 minutes to say, hey, this is what you need for your life from me that I want you to remember, what would you say?
Okay. I just want you to know you are worthy. You have a place on this earth, and you have gifts that are so valuable that the world needs. You are uniquely different and wonderful. And honestly, honoring yourself, taking care of yourself is one of the most important things you can do for the world, because the more we take care of ourselves, the more we fuel our bodies and learn the intricacies of our bodies. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out mine. The more that you can dive deeper within yourself, the more you have the capacity to share that with the world. Eating nutritionally, speaking well, thinking well, going to conscious events, whether it's a music festival, whether it's a work related CEO event, always looking to better yourself, always wanting to soak in information. I think one of the most valuable things that I knew once I started realizing I was learning so much was that I don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that retrospect is always constantly wanting to be a sponge and learning more and more and more, talking to different kinds of people, not just being open and receptive. Don't just shut something out because you don't understand it, or that it makes you feel uncomfortable. Instead, be inquisitive, ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
learn, grow, elevate yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself, for yourself, but also for the world. Because share those gifts. Life is for sharing and connection. And I know so many of us, me included back in the day, think that we're here on earth alone. We come into the world alone. We die alone. We can do this together. It's all about support. Find your tribe, find the people that are going to encourage you and pick you up when you are down in the mud and you are sinking. Find those people that are going to pick you up at your worst and love you at your best. And yeah, eat really good food. Eat whole foods at least 80% of the time if you can. The other 20%, that's up to you.
Perfect. No, thank you so much for being on my show, Stephanie. Check her out again at the Food Goddess
The
on
superfood
the
goddess.
Superfood Goddess on Instagram. Also, if you get a chance on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, please go like and comment on the show. It means the world to me. I do read these, and I appreciate it. If you have any other guests you want drop me a DM in my comments on there, and I will try and hook it up. Thank you again for being on the 150K podcast, where we help you take your dreams to six figures and beyond. Thank you again, Stephanie. I appreciate you so much. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you too and what you're putting out into the world. Thank you so much for helping others and having me on here and giving me a platform to speak and connect.
Awesome. Thank you.